Hello, and welcome to Madeleine at the Movies, the Golden Days film review segment, designed to make you feel a little more informed when it comes to choosing what to watch next. I'm Madeleine Swain. Every so often, a film comes along that could absolutely have gone either way to result in an unmitigated failure or an outstanding success. And sometimes such films will come along in quick succession. I think I Swear could have fallen into this category. A film about a man with Tourette's syndrome could easily have been wildly misjudged and not just bad, but offensive. Instead, I think it succeeds on pretty much every level. And now we have Project Hail Mary. It has a number of elements that may remind you of other already successful films. Touches of Gravity, Interstellar, The Martian, tiny touches of Arrival and Close Encounters, mostly around the mutual language learning, E.T., Moon, and yes, Castaway, perhaps the latter most of all. Because for the majority of the movie, the lead actor plays someone who is abandoned nowhere near the rest of civilization and has to convince us in the audience that he has developed a strong and pivotal relationship with an inanimate object. Well, that's not strictly true. Tom Hanks had Wilson the basketball, but Ryan Gosling has a small, arachnid-looking alien made out of rocks, the design of which is so rudimentary it looks as if it could have been created by a 6-year-old. He even gives the nickname Rocky to the character and shows him clips from the Stallone movie. And then these two characters, Earth teacher turned unwilling astronaut and Iridian space spider, are tasked with trying to save both of their far-flung planets because their respective suns are dying, and that's not good for anyone. It should be either utterly silly or sadly plagiaristic and formulaic and copying all its best ideas from that which has come before. And yet it isn't. Project Hail Mary is one of the most delightful films you could wish for. It's stirring, funny, moving, and totally gripping from start to finish, even with an ending that could, maybe should, have tipped right into the completely risible. Now, there are several reasons for this, even if at first blush the design of Rocky isn't one of them. It does grow on you, though. And those reasons are the ones you'd expect. First, there's the screenplay. And it's always the screenplay to start with, because, as everyone knows, you cannot make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. Drew Goddard is the better known and most experienced, it seems, of the two screenwriters, though he has collaborated with co-writer Andy Weir before, most notably perhaps on The Martian. More importantly, of course, the whole thing is, like The Martian, based on Weir's original novel, a novel that already has a huge fan base and did sell like hotcakes. Their previous experience with The Martian alone means that they both know the challenges of writing a compelling story that is mostly about one man lost in space, who has to use every bit of his science brain to stay alive and thrive. They also know it simply cannot be all science all the time. To keep the audience engaged, there has to be all the emotions too, and humour, definitely humour. In Project Hail Mary, they put Gosling's Ryland Grace through the ringer. At the beginning of the project in the title, but not the film, there's a fair bit of flashing backwards and forwards. Ryan Gosling he's a school teacher, a former scientist disillusioned by the establishment's treatment of him and his work. A long-buried research paper brings him to the attention of the global crack team trying to fix that sun problem, and before you know it, he's dragooned into the space program, albeit extremely reluctantly. When in space, he has moments of complete despair, total joy, and everything in between, and we go along with him. The direction is care of Phil Lord and frequent collaborator Christopher Miller. Now, those names may not be terribly familiar to you, and much of their CVs are taken up with animations, but with titles like The Lego Movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse between them, they are very good storytellers, sharing the Oscar for Best Animated Feature Film in 2019 for the latter of those titles, by the way. The production design for both spaceships, The World Beyond the Stars, and the magical things Grace and Rocky find is excellent, and the editing and the sound design are all top-notch too. But perhaps most of all, the reason for the film's success comes down to its star. And Ryan Gosling is just wonderful in this. He's always been a talented actor, I think, great at picking projects, going against the grain when it matters, and taking on unexpected roles and doing something really different with them. Ken in Barbie being an obvious example. But above all, he's an actor who's really open emotionally. He's not afraid to cry or laugh or sing and dance, and he commits completely and utterly in this film. He's an absolute joy to watch, and you believe every word and every gesture he makes. It's lovely stuff. Project Hail Mary is rated M, runs for 156 minutes, and is screening in general release now, including in IMAX. I didn't see it there, but I've heard that that's a real treat. And now back to Earth with The Deb, a new musical comedy that is set in small-town regional Australia. And that's not a sentence you hear every day. It's also directed by Rebel Wilson, another sentence you won't have heard before, as it's her directorial debut. She didn't write the screenplay, that was ostensibly Hannah Riley, with Meg Washington providing the songs, but Wilson does get a credit for additional writing. She also has a prominent role in the film as a mean girl's mother, who's also the local beautician. The film is loud and colourful, with a bit of PJ Hogan in it and a bit of Stephen Elliott, although it's not as bold as either Muriel's Wedding or Priscilla Queen of the Desert, even though it kicks off with what some may find a fairly confrontational number with a flying F-bomb in its title. But overall, the satire isn't quite as strong or as clever as either of those predecessors, or a Hollywood film like Mean Girls, to which it also owes a debt. The premise is a privileged private schoolgirl steps out of line and is sent to Whoop Whoop, well, regional Australia, to stay with her uncle and cousin until everything blows over. Her naive and overly trusting cousin is the Muriel of this piece, all excited about the local Deb ball, even though it seems unlikely that anyone will want to be her date. Charlotte McInnes as rich girl Maeve and Natalie Abbott as country cousin Taylor are both strong and sing well, and Wilson has smartly backed them up with dependable talents like Shane Jacobson and Tara Maurice. There is, however, a lack of cohesion throughout, and the tone shifts a bit, plus some of the character arcs are uneven at times, with coherence and logic jettisoned in favour of quick gags. But it's certainly vibrant and energetic, the choreography is lively, and Scarlett Crabtree as Kid Koala is a definite plus. The Deb is rated M for mature themes, crude humour and coarse language, runs for 121 minutes and opens in selected cinemas on Thursday the 9th of April after sneak previews on the Easter weekend. Overall, I watched The Deb without a particularly strong reaction either way, not loving it, but not hating it either. And I felt very much the same about The Magic Faraway tree. I was a big Enid Blyton reader as a child, but this is one of her book series that completely passed me by. It was all Famous Five, Mallory Towers and Castle of Adventure for me. This means, though, that I can't really say how true to the spirit of the book the new film version is. It does have a good pedigree. It was written by Simon Farnaby, the Horrible Histories alumni who did such a brilliant job with Paddington 2 and the TV series Ghosts. His updating of the story is fine, and Andrew Garfield and Claire Foy make sympathetic parents, but while it's watchable enough, I just don't think it has quite the zing to make it really memorable. And I can't see it becoming a rewatchable children's classic like either of the Paddingtons, or even a Nanny McPhee. But if you're looking for something safe and cheerful to take young charges to this school holidays, it certainly will suffice. The Magic Faraway Tree is rated G, runs for 104 minutes, and is screening in general release now. And that's all from me for this time. Madeleine at the Movies was produced and edited by Blair Purvis. Stay safe and well, and thanks for listening.